Janibek Alimkhanuly, the reigning WBO and IBF middleweight world champion. Having a record of 17 victories and no defeats, the Kazakh-born fighter is considered to be one of the best fighters within the sport. Erislandy Lara, the reigning WBA middleweight world champion. Having a record of 31 victories and 3 defeats, the Cuban-born fighter is currently the oldest world champion within the sport. And with it being announced that the two will square off on December the 6th, we take a brief look at this encounter and construct a breakdown of this fight. To understand this middleweight unification bout, we take a brief look at the division's most dominant champions. For Janibek Alimkhanuly, the WBO and IBF middleweight world champion, his journey started within the rugged hills of Kazakhstan. Beginning boxing at the age of 6, he amassed an amateur record of 300 victories and only 8 defeats. A fearless southpaw with blistering hand speed and devastating knockout power. His thrilling performances have led him to become one of the sport's most viewed fighters, often hailed as the boogeyman of the division. With many elite fighters opting to not face him, he's likened to his fellow countryman and former middleweight kingpin Gennady Triple G Golovkin. And with him being unrivaled in 17 professional bouts, the Kazakh looks forward to greater challenges ahead. Erislandy Lara's journey within the sport of boxing has been a difficult one. Born and raised in Guantanamo, Cuba, Lara's hardships have propelled him to be the champion he is today. Contrast to the tropical, lush scenery of the Caribbean island, Castro's communist Cuba has saw years of authoritarian rule. Starved by the decade-long sanctions from the United States, it has saw the Cuban people limited in their opportunities. Despite having 300 amateur bouts and securing a world amateur championship, Lara would still feel the oppression within his country. And with Fidel Castro imposing a ban on professional sports in 1961, it would see many Olympic gold medalists unable to display their talents within the pro ranks. Despite him gaining success in his professional career, controversial decisions would see him gain 3 losses. And where most boxers would step away from the sport disheartened, Lara would manage to stay relevant and capture a world title in his second weight division. Like his scheduled opponent Janibek, the Cuban looks ahead to perhaps the toughest challenge in the latter stages of his career. Within the sport of boxing, too often the spectators are left without the best fighters facing each other. Separated by the network deals and broadcasting rights, too often promoters have become content with running a monopoly within their stable. Such is the case for both Janibek Alimkhanuly and Erislandy Lara. Considered to be the 2 best fighters within the division, a bout between the two had been rumored to take place some years ago. With Janibek signed to Toprank Boxing and Lara signed to PBC, it would seem a crossover bout between the two wouldn't take place due to their lack of trash talking. And with an announcement of an unexpected bout between the two to take place on December the 6th, the boxing audience should expect a high-skilled contest. For Janibek, known for having a fan-pleasing style of fighting, this was harnessed within his native Kazakhstan. Typical for countries that were once under the Soviet Union, the sports development programs still practiced within them countries have led to many world champions arriving from Eastern Europe. In the case of the unified champion, despite having only 17 professional bouts, his amateur career of over 300 bouts has enabled him to develop a unique style of fighting. With the ability to be defensively aware whilst unleashing vicious combinations has caused fighters to avoid him. Technically sound, his constant probing jab allows him to measure the distance before committing. Already amongst the best in the sport, he calls this way of fighting the Kazakh style. For Erislandy Lara, a stylish southpaw from the island of Cuba, his skills were developed within the famous La Finca boxing gym. Known for its long history to produce dominant fighters, Lara successfully managed to cross over his boxing skills in the pro ranks. A defensive-minded fighter, he comfortably boxes on the back foot, waiting patiently to counter his opponent's offense. Often outweighed by the opposition's weight or stature, at times Lara will stand within close range, trading effectively. Technically amongst the best fighters for many years, his fearless mindset of facing the toughest challenges has made him widely respected amongst his fellow fighters. Within the sport of boxing, despite how technically sound a fighter might be, it's the thrilling knockouts that entice the wider audience. In the case of Janibek, having scored 12 knockouts out of his 17 fights, he's shown himself to be a knockout puncher, systematically breaking down his opponents. The heavy-handed Kazakh fighter has all the tools to upset his opponent Erislandy Lara. Janibek's in-ring tenacity and constant aggressiveness has made him a fan favorite amongst boxing purists. Finishing his opponents in destructive fashion, he strives to emulate the feats of his countryman, Gennady Golovkin. Handed a career-defining opportunity against a fellow experienced champion, he looks to gain the victory in thrilling manner and propel his career to greater heights. In the case of Erislandy Lara, despite showing that he can hurt his opponents through his encounters, he tends to box his way comfortably to a decision victory. Facing severe criticism for many years for having a boring style,
I wouldn't walk across the street to see him fight because he's not going to engage. He's not going to go toe-to. He's not going to put on action fights I want to see.
The Cuban fighter has had to maneuver through his career with a limited fan base.
Lara don't bring real money to the table, and the networks don't want to see him fight because he's boring. He runs around in circles, and that's it. He's not entertaining. That's the problem.
Often being on the end of controversial decision losses, the trajectory of his journey could have been different had he been handed them victories. Still, handed another career-defining opportunity, Lara will look to unify the middleweight division in impressive fashion. Although the Cuban lacks the devastating power that Janibek possesses, Lara's experience in championship fights has earned him the relevant skill set to neutralize the Kazakh's offensive onslaught. A highly anticipated encounter, it would pit the Kazakh style against the Cuban school of boxing. In an era where fighters look to swerve dangerous opponents, the two champions have displayed their throwback mindset of facing the best. Both stylish southpaws with thudding power in either hand, the spectators should expect an exciting fight. With a total of 600 amateur bouts between them, this is perhaps the most skilled matchup in recent times.
It may not be a war the whole time, but you're talking about two of the most special fighters, the most gifted fighters in the world.
On the 6th of December, at the Frostbank Center in San Antonio, Texas, both Janibek Alimkhanuly and Erislandy Lara will face off for middleweight supremacy. Scheduled to take place on a stacked fight card, the boxing world is eagerly awaiting to see this mouth-watering clash.
Great action fight where you don't know the outcome, where either guy can hurt and end the fight really at any time after the first couple rounds.
For Janibek Alimkhanuly, the reigning WBO and IBF middleweight world champion, already considered to be amongst the sport's finest, he looks to continue his devastating destruction within the division and propel his career to greater heights. For Erislandy Lara, the current WBA middleweight world champion, eager to prove his age is irrelevant, he looks to shock the doubters with a stunning victory and place a halt on the Kazakh fighter's ambitions.
I think it's coming at the right moment too. Both guys are really at a time in their careers where they've got enough experience against high level. They've got enough talent. They've got enough intelligence to make this fight really come at the right time and really make it an explosive fight.